Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the show and just remind everyone that we have shirts in the shop. Go to pgttcm.com. You can pick up shirts, stickers. We even have those shower curtains I was talking about last time. Also, you can join us on Patreon and get a free sticker. Check out the show notes and learn how you can be a part of People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, help support the show any way you can. Patreon users, you get a free sticker, at least. So check out what we've got. Show notes, that's where you're going to find our PayPal link and our sponsors and any information about any guests that are on the show and where to find them. Thank you.
You're listening to KZOM, Oleander Public Radio.
Greetings, listeners. It is I, D.B. Spitzer, Informer Dave, here once again to talk to you about the Cthulhu mythos, its books, its monsters, its unfortunate human casualties, its timeline in general, and even its tangential bits, like the dreamlands or things of a weird nature that are Lovecraftian leaning. Once more we head into those dark woods, further feeling those malevolent forces upon us. Once again we walk down the lightless stone staircase in the middle of nowhere.
You're listening to KZOM.
Hey everyone, it is me, DB Spitzer. I'm just here doing bits off mic for Dave and no one else, and then I remembered, hey, we gotta record a show. How are you doing, Dave, on my virtual right?
So well, because I saw these I heard these off-mic bits that were amazing.
Thanks, Dave. How's everything out at the farm these days?
Well, pretty good. So we always make this giant Christmas goat, and then one of the guys, Jack Stark, he always tries to burn it.
Yeah.
But they have not been able to find the goat in the last couple of days because of we just had deep fogs in this part, by Crap Creek and everything. So, and just a reminder that it is a misdemeanor in the city of Oleander or surrounding areas of Clackamas County to summon ghost pirates to change weather. So just anybody who saw me going to the A1 taxidermy and supermarket buying golden candles, they weren't summoning candles, okay?
Yeah, no, summoning candles, A1 doesn't carry those anymore. We're not going to talk about that. Which reminds me, we haven't seen the pizza hole for a while. Like, the building itself. I have a feeling... Anyway, I'm not even going to go into that. Summoning candles, you used to be able to get at the pizza hole, but the pizza hole itself has disappeared. And that was like back when the Futurist was mayor, so we're still trying to figure that one out. I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot about that the pizza hole itself has disappeared. I haven't heard anything from the driver in a while. I can't even remember his name. Javier. I have not seen hide nor hair of Javier in...
Nor mask. He could be walking around just not wearing his luchador mask.
I'm just hoping he's out there. I just hope he's out there fighting vampires and werewolves or something. But we haven't heard from Javier in a while. If anyone knows anything about Javier, just let us know. We'd love to see that guy and his smiling masked face delivering pizza. Anyway, you were saying summoning candles. You're not altering the weather.
Of course not. That would be a crime in the city of Oleander and the surrounding county areas.
We don't want ghost pirates, people. We're trying to get rid of them. And if you're messing with the weather,
even if they do cause fogs that protect your giant goat statues.
Correct. So, which reminds me, we haven't seen Javier, and we also haven't seen Minion much, so I don't know what to say about that. But I've been having problems of our own. Our house over at Glorious Resurrection is great, but those who have listened for a while know that my partner Sarah, she is the caretaker of Oleander Manor, which is pretty much like kind of like a historical society museum. It's where we found the little tools that introduced us to Dave's neighbors. It's the place where the mayor sometimes met when the downtown was cloaked with a poisonous fog. It's got rats. It's got a lot of rats, and we don't know what to do about it. We just hear them in the walls. They don't have rat faces. I mean, they don't have human faces or anything like that, so it's not a Brown Jenkins situation. Ooh, that would be a cool band name, Brown Jenkins Situation.
Yeah.
Anyway. We're calling people, but the people who have shown up have been like, well, this is a Class B situation. This building's so old, we'd have to do like all kinds of demolition to even get to where the rats are. And we're like, you've got to be kidding us. And they're like, this building's over 200 years old, and it's like the building's only 150 something, and they're like, and it's not in that great repair, and it's like, this is a anyway. So we're gonna go with we're trying to find someone who can get rid of these rats, mice, whatever's going on with this place, but that's not what we're talking about this week. We're talking about some fire and dirt. If Captain Planet was going to be called, someone would go fire and someone would go dirt. And yeah. So we're talking about Cthugha and Cthonians. So we're still in the seas. See, Dave?
Yes. That didn't go over my head.
And also, you've got an interview with someone who I think is really cool, who I was on a panel at 2019 H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. It was Queer Horror was the panel, and it was so packed in there. I've never had a panel that was so packed. It was standing room only. Fire marshal probably wouldn't have liked it. And like the walls were like dripping with moisture because of the fact that there were so many people breathing. It was just, it was not a hot mess. It was a hot triumph. But yeah, it was really cool. I brought homemade beer. Everyone had a good time. And yeah, I met a lot of really cool people, Evan being one of them. So yeah, I'm excited to hear this interview. So
yeah, so it's Evan Peterson, and we do talk a little bit about queer horror and things that maybe I had not realized are part of the queer horror family. But it's a good interview.
Oh, cool! I'm excited. I'm super excited. And yeah, as always, this episode is brought to you by you, the listener. But if you want to help out the show, go to the show notes, check out our sponsors. My personal favorite these days is Copper Cow, the Vietnamese pour-over coffee. And yeah, check the show notes. I like it. I really like the Earl Grey flavor and the lavender, because I'm a fancy person. And yeah. So how is everything with your goat?
Like I said, they keep people drive by to burn it, and they just keep driving by because they don't see it in the fog.
Yeah. I think, what is it? Next week. Well, I mean, technically this week since we're recording, but this week I have duties to help watch the goat. So I'm going to take my e-scooter up a gravel road up to your place and sit and drink Vietnamese coffee all night long while I watch a big goat and make sure that no one with drones with a last name that rhymes with Eark doesn't
burns it down, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So we're talking about Cthugha and the Cthonians. Who do you want to tackle first? What?
Let's talk about Cthugha.
Cthugha. All right, we're going to do Cthugha in Dave's Corner of the podcast. So, Dave, who's Cthugha? What's their deal? And what are we going to do about it?
Well, and you can't talk about Cthugha without talking about it. Cthugha, the Cthugha Daddy.
Okay.
And the Cthugha Daddy is, of course, August Derleth.
Oh, all right.
So Cthugha is this giant sort of ball of flame elder god.
Oh, right.
And it kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes sense that there would be this huge giant, a fire god.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And he first appears in a short story published in 1944 called The Dweller in Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marvel's going to take that title and Dweller in the Darkness, and it's going to make it into one of its big bad guys, including, if you've seen the recent Shang-Chi movie.
Mm-hmm. I have not.
The bad guys that dwell in the darkness.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's almost impossible, I think, on their part for not to have known that story, especially since The Dweller in the Darkness and Marvel came up in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And those were a lot of, at the end of their road, pulp writers,
Mm-hmm.
that were getting close to retiring. But if they weren't full pulp writers in the 40s and 50s, they were the new generation that was influenced them.
Yeah.
So, of course, they borrowed. And they borrowed a lot from Derleth, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, in The Dweller in the Darkness, basically this person calls forth Cthugha to basically burn an avatar of Nyarlathotep out of a forest.
Okay.
So, we see here two of the great Derlethian heresies.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is the elemental theory. And I don't know if you've heard of the elementary. I'm sure you've heard of the elementary element. But, so Derleth gets a lot of pressure and you got to remember Derleth comes from a Christian or Catholic background.
Yep.
And I know we're talking about Cthugha, and we'll go a little bit more about him. But I'm going to say this, that when Derleth did his own stuff, he's not a bad writer. Mm-hmm. In fact, I don't know if there's an August Derleth Appreciation Society.
Yeah.
They completely ignore his horror stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He writes this, these basically adult, not adult erotic, but just adult age, Little House on the Prairie stories.
Yeah.
Which, if that's your thing, historical, Midwest, that's the go-to source for these type of stories. Mm-hmm. But he gets a lot of, maybe rightfully so, shade from Lovecraftians.
Okay.
And one of it is his theory that the Cthulhu mythos is divided into the traditional European alchemist elements.
Yeah.
And when it's kind of, you've got a fire god already, it's kind of easy to say, yeah, look, here, see it is, neglecting the fact that he created it. I really think, though, I'm not sure the exact time, I think he came up with this and then came up with the the fire god idea, or the elemental idea.
Okay.
The other is that there is this war in heaven that humans and some of his, and that humans can, if the elder gods or the outer gods are not necessarily good, you can use them against the big bads.
Yeah.
So literally in Dwell in the Darkness, the protagonist is fighting fire with fire, and he's trying to drive away this avatar of Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
So you can at least attempt to use it, and that you can use the mythos against the mythos.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Something along those lines. I recall being a plot element, spoilers, on a 15-year-old video game called Eternal Darkness, where pretty much what the point is you end up summoning a elemental god to defeat another elemental god, and I don't know, in kind of like a ultimate game of Pokemon. And there's multiple endings if you do all the gods against all the different gods, and then anyway. But Eternal Darkness, which I think I've talked about before, it's a very Lovecraftian game. I want to say it's a lot more Derlethian, honestly, if we're going to talk about it. It is very elemental, and very kind of like Derleth's concept of the mythos with elemental and like hierarchical war in the heavens kind of stuff. But Eternal Darkness on the GameCube, and if you have a Wii, you can always put it on the Wii and bust out the old controllers. But anyway, enough about video games and playing them on archaic systems.
Well, and also I would say as role-playing games, because he has, and I know they've kind of gone away and then kind of come back in the newest version of Call of Cthulhu for servitors, but he has basically little versions of him, fire vampires. Yeah. Which make this really good. You want to hook a UFO hook. The investigators are going into the valley or wherever because they see light, and it's strange, the sort of things go. I've been really going over recently a lot of 70s UFO reports, and it's amazing how many of them are seen as like balls of light no bigger than a basketball.
Yeah.
So, is it a coincidence? More than likely, but you kind of wonder, had people maybe read Derleth and put them in their subconscious and now they're seeing things? You don't know. But, they make a really good sort of level 1 tier creature, and then you've got to stop before the big daddy comes in.
Sure. No, I like that idea. For like writers and game designers, or players like us out there. That sounds like something that could be easily done for your story or your game. Just like do whatever you're doing, introduce it as like whatever genre you're introducing the game as, and then slowly bring in this UFO element, or flaming balls, whatever you want to do, and then it's more or less a countdown until Cthugha shows up, or stopping Cthugha from showing up, which I think is like, once you realize it's like, oh yeah, no, this happened in Germany in like the 1400s, and this is how they stopped it, that kind of thing. Where you break out the ancient book that someone has to translate, so that buys, game design wise, story wise, that buys you time, as you have like your person who would normally be able to do a lot of different research or something like that is just stuck translating and researching this kind of thing. And then it's like kind of like countdown. When you get to this point where you've battled X many, it's when your book person goes, oh my goodness, if we don't get this done by this point in time, this is going to happen. How do we fix it? I got to do more research. You battle some more, you do some more things, you run into cultists, whatever, and then we got to get these materials together and blah, blah, blah. And then that's what the game is. That's what the story is. And then it's just the countdown to the battle with the big fiery bad, or the cult that's trying to summon the big fiery bad, or the people who have been, I don't know, possessed by some sort of fire demon that are trying to bring it forward. That's when you have to get rid of them and keep Cthugha, or maybe keep Cthugha, but maybe an avatar of Cthugha comes out in some sort of, oh man, I'm just replacing Gozer with Cthugha at this point in my head, and describing Ghostbusters.
I kind of did that too,
yeah.
And right now our good friends that really know the mythos are reminding me that the fire vampires were actually predate Cthugha,
but they're
by about 10 years in a story called The Fire Vampires, and they're actually servants of Cthugha with an F, not a C.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of get maybe idea where Darlith got the idea from it, because the fire vampires were actually created by Donald Wandry, but I, as a game master, have always made them as Cthugha.
Oh, sure.
Even though originally, and Wandry is going to be the partner with Darlith to make Arkham House.
Ooh.
So I'm sure that Wandry knew he was taking this. So I've always to me, the fire vampires are Cthugha instead of Cthugha.
Or what you could do is Cthugha is the big bad. Cthugha is its offspring, and then the fire vampires are just kind of it's seen servants, it's servitors. So you have kind of a Father, Son, Holy Spirit kind of thing going on. To tie into.
I kind of remember too, it was that they might be Cthughan, but that Cthughan and Cthughan were probably maybe super powerful ones of the same race.
Yeah, I like that idea. I don't think we're necessarily making our own mythology here. I think other people have thought this as well. But yeah, no, it's interesting how all this stuff is indirectly but kind of directly all connected, especially with Wandry and Derleth. I mean, that's cool about Arkham House, and that they're the ones who did it. And they're the ones who kept the mythos alive. And you know what? There's stuff that really kind of folds into my cargo cult idea. It's two major creators of the mythos have two different ideas about Cthulhu. Just like two people who had a lot to do with Cthugha, Lovecraft's description and Clark Ashton Smith's description are so different. It's almost like the Cthulhu mythos is a cargo cult. It's not because it's so chaotic that everything changes. It's the fact that it's stuff that aliens did a long time ago, and humans are just misunderstanding it. I don't know, almost maybe ancient people finding elephant skulls and going, Cyclopses!
Cyclops or pterodactyls and thinking they're dragons.
Yeah. It's if, a bunch of people on a boat run across a giant hologram that has been sending dream ideas. Anyway, we'll cover this in Cthulhu. Anyway, and
when is that going to be? Because maybe we have listeners that really, really want to hear the Cthulhu episode.
Ooh, the Cthulhu episode. I think that's next week.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah.
I hope everybody tunes in.
Me too. And if you have any questions or want to talk about Cthulhu or send in anything that you want to say about Cthulhu, go to pgttcm.com and use the contact page. Have we covered Cthugha to...
I think that we have burnt all of our Cthugha segment here.
So you say that this, you think this segment is well done?
I would say it is.
All right. Up next, we're going to be talking
It was a hot subject, but...
Up next, we're going to be talking to Evan Peterson, and then we're going to go to, some burrowers beneath. Even though I don't know if that's the story they come from off the top of my head. Anyway, we'll see ya in a few.
Yeah, something should be popping up soon.
Yep.
Okay. So I tend to let just say welcome us back to this part of the show, and then say who you are, and let guests introduce themselves.
Great.
Okay. Then if you're ready, we'll go on.
Yeah, let's do it.
And that was a break. Now we're on the part of the show where my kind of favorite part, where I get to talk to people. And I am very lucky to talk to writer and poet Evan and Peter. Evan.
And that's all the audio we have for some reason. Dave double-checked his stuff. He recorded it and had all the stuff there at one point in time. And we can't get it to give us all the information. Skype is holding on to it for some reason. I don't know. Not physically the company's Skype, but something happened since the interview was recorded now. And we are really sorry. Dave's going to try and get another interview with Evan Peterson, and we're going to try and rectify this for everyone. Thank you again, everyone. And I guess D&D with D&D after the mid-roll. All right, back to the show.
Thank you once again for listening to People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. You can help show your support by going to the show notes and following any of the links that'll tell you how to support the show and how to support our guests. And thank you to all of our guests who you can find in the show notes. Rate, review, subscribe, and remember, patrons get priority access to asking us questions, suggesting topics, even, submitting stuff. Actually, you don't have to be a patron to submit anything. That's how Dave got on the show, and that's how you can get on the show too. It's the People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends. Thank you for listening. Back to the show.
Hey, everybody. Yeah. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
I am still well.
Oh, good.
And enjoyed having that interview, but I also enjoy listening to it again.
Yeah, it's super cold in my studio, and I'm keeping warm with some Copper Cow. Just another plug for Copper Cow coffee. Find it in the show notes. Oh, amazing Vietnamese pour-over coffee. Remember to tear the top off. It's not a tea bag. It's pour-over coffee. That's not a slogan of theirs, but the first one I did, I just threw it into the coffee like a tea bag. I was like, wow, this is really tanniny. Anyway, oops. So we're going to get dirty. We're going to get down and dirty, and we're going to be talking about Cthulhians. Or as other people like to call them, graboids. I'm pretty sure Cthulhians and the creatures from Tremors are the same creature.
They're a copyright lawyer friendly version.
Oh yeah. But Cthonians, who are they? Where do they come from? Who made them? How can you use them in your game, Cthonians?
Well, so let's start with a couple of reasons. I mean,
okay.
We're going to mainly talk about Brian Lumley's creation.
Yeah.
But so Lovecraft didn't create the name Migo.
No.
Migo is a name given to the Abominable Snowman. And, he uses the term vampire. So it's a very steeped in tradition version to take names of monsters and myth and then associate them with a mythos creature that's not anything like them or just slightly related.
Yeah.
And so the Cthonians are a Greek, so they're like some Greek underground, really sort of obscure deities. So that's where the term comes from. Then, like I said, Brian Lumley is going to create Burrows Beneath, the book, but he takes that title from a short story written by Robert Blake in The Haunter of the Darkness.
Okay.
So he definitely wants this, and this is his first of his novels of Titus Crow.
Okay.
And in ways, I think, especially, he follows up the more fantasy, but I think The Burrows Beneath is probably one of my favorite. And these basically gigantic tentacle worms.
Yeah. Tentacle worms.
Tentacle worms.
If giant worms weren't bad enough, tentacle worms.
And they, of course, are at least human intelligent.
Yeah, which is a bit troublesome. Yeah. They can figure stuff out and they can do things. And that's why I keep saying graboids, because not everyone's read Lumley, but most people have seen Tremors. Or I don't want to say a lot of people have seen Tremors. I'm going to say most.
They know what it was.
I'm going to say most of our listeners have seen Tremors, and probably at least one or two of the sequels that they just kind of slapped the name Tremors onto, because it's like, I don't know. Some of those. Have you seen any of the Tremors sequels, Dave?
So, I've only seen the Tremors TV show.
Okay. All right. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I think last time we talked about graboids or something like that, I didn't know that there was a Tremors TV show, and now I have to go find it, because it
was on Sci-Fi like 10, 12 years ago for a season or two.
Yeah.
And it had the Family Ties guy back as the gun guy, and it didn't have Kevin Bacon, but
yeah, I imagined it would have whoever's career wasn't necessarily the greatest at that time would probably be the star of the show. But yeah, that makes sense that Bert is the star of the show.
It didn't have Reba McEntire.
Yeah.
And I'm going over my notes too. And so they do the Cthonians, I did say, and correctly so, that they're the first of the Titus Crow novels.
Sure.
They do are mentioned in an earlier, about 4 or 5 years, he wrote a short story called Cement Surroundings that mentions them. But the first real big splash is the Titus Crow, the novels.
Sure, yeah. Huh.
Now, I personally first found them in again, the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game.
Yeah.
In fact, the first scenario that I wrote, for my players and stuff, was a Chthonian in Ireland. But in fact, there's even a I think a book is like The Return of the Cthonians or something where most of the scenarios are Cthonian based.
Okay.
Even though a lot of them are reprints.
Sure.
The Curse of the Cthonians or something, I can't remember, but where like 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3 of the scenarios are all about these creatures.
All right. Well, how would you use them in like a D&D or Call of Cthulhu campaign? Like, how would you use them in like a fantasy campaign?
So fantasy, they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Your dungeons are usually underground or in a mountain.
Yeah.
And they can just, tunnel into a dungeon.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that a lot of people forget from the books is that they have this power to compel somebody to stay somewhere, so that they can't leave the room until they come up and grab them.
Okay.
And that's more for, you could really sort of shake it up a little bit and put that in a D&D campaign. But that's going to be sort of more of this the Call of Cthulhu type campaign. You could do a D&D. You've got, this guy knows that this giant worm's going to come and eat him, and he just cannot get himself to leave the house.
Yeah.
And, people drag him back, and he just springs back in and just can't control it. So you've got 3 days before this giant worm comes and munches everything to find this counter spell.
Yeah. Something I was thinking is, what if that's just a spell that Cthonians can cast? If we're talking D&D, if they're of like average or greater intelligence, there's no reason why they can't be spellcasters. Like they just may be these giant underground worms that have like high intelligence and ability to cast spells against other things. It's not like they have like some sort of like gland in their skull that makes it so that they can like cast hold the person on someone from like far away, but they may be, I don't know.
A ritual or...
Yeah. They may know spells. They may, actually be spellcasting creatures with their own society and stuff like that way underground that we just don't know about. But yeah, no, I was thinking like, what if they're of a certain intelligence, if someone summoned them and then compelled them to like attack a castle, treated them as intelligent siege machines, is one thing. Like you could take apart a castle from underneath with a family of Cthonians, or if you wanted to do it in like an urban setting, like someone being like, get into that building so that we can then follow. Like, what if like magic users that are also like eco-terrorists hijack a Cthonian and use it to rob banks or destroy buildings? Or
because they can gather and cause earthquakes too.
Yeah,
and the more there are, the stronger the earthquake.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was gonna say. Or if you like held a place hostage, you're being like, hey, we have a weather machine. If you don't do what we say, we'll make it worse. I'm just coming up with like dumb things, and then like the superheroes are like, you don't have a weather machine, you have Cthonians, we're gonna rescue these creatures. Or your, I don't know, your Shadowrun games can do all kinds of dumb stuff like that. What ideas do you have, Dave?
Well, also, if you're doing D&D, that they're just pretty much set for the Underdark.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And maybe, and so they're Shadel, or however you pronounce it, their king is like Dagon. He's just become so powerful that he is pretty much deified. So you could have maybe not ever see the Cthonians ever come up to the surface.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But you could fight their cult. you could also, you could have sort of a party of drow.
Yeah.
And they've got, they're expanding, it could be they're expanding the Underdark, and they come up with this entire, continent or country of Cthonians, and it could be a war.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea. And I was thinking, it's like, there's really no reason ever that players should ever come up against Shudadel, anyway, Shai Hulud, but, the Master of the Worms, because it's like, unless you summon it, and for some reason your campaign decides that to get rid of all the worms, you have to get rid of the head worm or something like that, but, yeah.
Or it's set on the lattice, and a lattice is about to sink because of earthquakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And the other thing, and I know at least because, I remember writing this for a 3rd edition Call of Cthulhu, is they regenerate.
Oh, interesting.
And so that one in Ireland, it was sort of a quest to find, so the guy was stuck in the house, but they had to find someone that could basically cast a spell that would take away the regeneration, because it would regenerate so quickly. And of course, this is the first Call of Cthulhu I ran. Didn't quite realize how full burst Tommy gun damage does to a flesh and blood creature.
Yeah.
But that was the whole. They had to find the thing, prevent it from regenerating, or they knew they just didn't have a chance.
Yeah. Huh. Now imagine if that thing could cast mage armor.
Yeah. And they have sort of, so they have their own society, they have their own government, they have their maybe divine leader, and a lot of this kind of reminds me of Dune.
Yeah.
Which, I think came out a decade, maybe a little earlier than that before. So, I wonder if Lumley was inspired by that. But especially God Emperor Doom, though, did come up after the Burrows Beneath.
Yeah.
So maybe Herbert was inspired.
Possibly. Yeah. No. There's certain things that definitely make me think of Chthonians, like sandworms from Beetlejuice, even though there's no tentacles, graboids for sure, and even the worms, the sandworms from Dune. But it's the graboids that I always think of when I see Chthonians, or it's like, I don't know, I don't want to call one Wish.com version of the other. I mean, it's just kind of like Hydrox and Oreo, in my opinion. One was around first, clearly, but the other one's the one that most people know of.
Yeah, and there's no... And as I remember, I think that, the writer of Tremors claimed that he had never... He wasn't familiar with this. Wink, wink. But, I mean, it's not that... I mean, I love what Lumley does with it. Yeah, I think he did a great job. But the idea, that you got something coming up from the ground that'll grab you, that's not too far-fetched that two different people would think that at the same time.
Oh, totally.
Or independently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. And Chthonians have those tentacles, and they can grab you, and they can pull you down and eat you, and... Oh man, it's bad news. It's like running across one in the wild. That would not be fun. Running across the whole colony of them. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So say your game is about getting rid of a colony of them. Say you're playing Call of Cthulhu, but it's New York and or not even New York, New Amsterdam, and there's something going on in the colonies. I mean, there's something that's attacking people on this weird island of Manhattan. I mean, you go with something like that, possibly. Or, I don't know, you could do, like, isolated desert stuff.
So I was thinking, a World War II Africa campaign.
Oh, my goodness.
You do Octoon Cthulhu or Cthulhu World War II. And just imagine the sanity check you gotta make if you see like a tank disappearing the ground.
Yeah, or I was like the sanity check you make when your tank gets flipped over.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, wow, that's I was like, sub-Saharan Africa might be interesting, and I was like, no, what if we just like go with like America in like the 1600s or something like that, and then you
or down the deeper trails, the Western Cowboy campaign.
Oh yeah. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. Do kind of an Oregon Trail kind of thing, but with Cthulhuans following the whole time. But the thing I was thinking about is, like, say you have, like, you start a campaign in, like, New Amsterdam. You have a group of people fight Cthulhuans. Then you start another campaign that starts in New York, 1990s, modern day, whatever you want to do. It's those Cthulhuans. They didn't all get wiped out, but maybe you'll find your old character's notes that'll help you, but I don't know. Anyway, but I feel like there's a lot you can do with Cthulhuans. A lot of it is kind of the same thing. It's all underground, but, look up what Cthulhuan means in ancient Greek, and it makes sense.
And the same thing, too, if you're writing a story or a campaign, kind of like what Spielberg did with The Shark.
Yeah.
It's presence there. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to throw something else out that's never been associated.
Sure.
Well, I think it did. I think Lumley brings it back.
All right.
But do you remember the Hounds of Kennedales?
Yes.
And so this guy's basically got... The Hounds of Kennedales can only come in at angles. Okay. So he's living inside this big giant egg to protect him until he gets a spell. Mm-hmm. But the egg cracks because of an earthquake.
Oh.
I think Lumley may have tied them together because he uses Hounds of Kennedales in his stories. Mm-hmm. But I always, since I've learned about these, the earthquaking from the game, I've always thought that the Cthonians and the Hounds of Kennedales made some sort of pact.
Could be.
And it would be a hard campaign, but okay, so we got Hadley or whoever for you. Mm-hmm. Now the Kennedales want somebody, and the Cthulhuans are going to go after them.
Ooh. I like that. And one close to final thing I wanted to mention is Bowls, Doles, and Cthulhuans may be the same thing. I think we talked about this in Bowls, but yeah. Lovecraftian underground worms? There might be some Cthulhuans in the Vale of Penaf.
There may be.
In the Dreamlands, just if people are like, where's the Vale of Penaf? Is that in Madagascar?
That in Washington or Oregon?
Oh, Vale of Penaf, that's in Oregon. We go all the time. Cthulhuans. And Shubmadel? Is that like their Cthugha? Is he a dirt god?
He could basically be and something I forgot I want to talk about. See, I've never bought this sort of elemental idea for the mythos.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I could see humans believing it.
Yeah, definitely.
I could see Nyarlathotep spinning this and pushing. Oh yeah, it's all elementals. Going to John Dee and saying, yeah, it's all. So the humans, may think it's elementals, even though that's like nothing to the actual mythos creatures.
Sure, yeah, no, like misinformation, or like something that some alchemist thought of in like the 1300s is like, well, if we know that the known world works like this, with all these elements that you can do stuff with, then definitely that's how the outer world works too. So, we know that there's a water god, we know that there's a fire god, and we know there's a dirt god. So,
and I think Hostor got made the air god there because he was from the stars.
Yeah, even though other people say that Hastur and Cthulhu are pretty much like look the same or similar because they're cousins. Oh, a whole bunch of writers writing different stuff and not together. Nothing can go wrong.
No.
A whole bunch of game designers taking a bunch of different writers' stuff without reading all the other stuff that other writers have written, and a bunch of other stuff that game designers have written, and then correlated it into a volume that gets re-edited every 5 to 10 years to sell more books. I mean, that wouldn't have any effect on the mythos either.
It's all fun and games until you summon a giant worm with tentacles.
Yes, it is. So, everyone, be careful out there. Cthonians. Oh, man, how would you deal with Cthonians? Watch Tremors. If they're magic using Cthonians, use magic back at them. If they've got magic, there's a likely chance you've got magic. I mean, or know someone who has magic. If you're in a magical world, which we are not. And so there's no Cthonians, you don't have to worry about it. Unless there are, and then you do.
Then you do.
Then you do.
Or if you're like me, worry about it even if it's not.
Yeah, because if we had Cthonians, I would be worried, because then I'd be like, oh, I wonder if that's what happened to the graveyard, and why a huge part over in the west part of the graveyard collapsed, like, you know, about the size of a city block. Yeah, that happened, like, back in November, and we just still have, like, caution tape up and stuff like that. Anyway. Something's buzzing somewhere around here, and I can't tell what it is.
It's the Cthonian detector.
Oh, it's Sarah. Hey, Sarah, I'm still recording with Dave right now. All right, I love you, love. Okay. All right, I think we're almost done here. Yeah, no, so we've had a really good episode. We had Evan Peterson talking. We talked about fire gods. We talked about dirt monsters.
Dirt monsters.
Are Cthonians from Earth?
I believe that they were.
Okay, all right.
I believe they were, but you never know with Lumley. Lumley likes to bring things out from space.
Yeah, because it's like, well, Cthugha is from outside of Earth, and Cthonians, they just seem like Earth monsters that just got really big. Really, you know, some of them got really big, and the other ones are like, well, this is who's in charge. But yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure Lumley never said that they came from a specific place outside the Earth.
Okay.
But I don't think he really confirmed where they came from.
Yeah. It would make sense if they were outside of Earth, if they were going to be part of this, like, elemental god theory. But, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for the Cthulhu mythos this week, everyone. But stay safe. Wash your hands.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Be nice to each other. Don't try and burn Dave's goats. If you're an Oleander, there is no Santa worshiping because of an incident that happened in the 70s? 30s, I'm sorry. I'm awful with my history. I saw the stage production that... Anyway. So, yeah. We'll see you next time. We're going to be talking about Cthulhu, and if you have anything you want to write to us as soon as you hear this, so that it is on the next episode, get those out by Saturday, the something-teenth of December 2021, and yeah, we'll see you then, everyone. Dave, do you have anything to say before we take off into that brilliant night?
Just don't let any giant tentacle worms grab you from underground.
Yep. All right. We'll see you all next time, everyone.